It's all neutral here. Is that a ring pop? Hey, this is Jake with the Tractor Yard, and today we're in the tractor shop, and I'm standing next to a Branson 2400 gear drive that has lost all gears. Neutral soup. Now before you go stressing out about your tractor's transmission being completely shot, watch this video as we replace this one single part and get this tractor back in business. Now this issue is actually fairly common on these Branson 2400 gear drive tractors. These aren't synchronized transmissions, they're just regular gear drive. And normally what happens is this pin right here is actually basically part of your shift fork linkage. There's your part number. But what happens is people will try to shift these on the fly, or their clutch will be going bad and they're pretty much trying to bang gears, and this part right here just shears off. Now this tractor, we're suspecting needs a new bracket right there for the clutch linkage, because it looks like there's been some welding done on it. So they've probably got a bad adjustment to their clutch, or their clutch is just shot. But first, we're gonna get this thing replaced and see what we're working with. Always love finding this stuff right here. Is that a ring pop? With the shift fork housing off, I'm just inspecting these gears to see if there's any abnormal wear, and everything looks operational, but the faces of the gears where they mesh are worn, so I'm thinking either this clutch has been out of adjustment for some time, or the clutch is bad and it's going to need replaced. So we're going to find out as soon as we get this fork repaired. So as we suspected, that shift arm was broken, just like we've seen in the past. And when that happens, one or both parts fall down into that sump. So here we're just doing a little magnet fishing to make sure we get out whatever fell in that housing. So actually, one part fell in the housing and one part actually popped out and fell on the ground. All right, so this is the trickiest part of this whole job. So just getting this shift fork assembly put back together the right way takes a little bit of time and patience. You're dealing with a couple of things that are tricky that can kind of trip you up. So one of those things is the rod that passes through that whole assembly. That's sort of the main mover of those shift forks. The part that actually bolts to your shift handle. So that black plate that I have oriented upwards, that's important, that orientation, because if you have that upside down, you won't get your shift handle put back on, and you won't know that until you get this entire assembly put together upside down. The other thing that's going to be a little bit of a struggle is getting the actual shift arm, the piece that broke, back into that rod that passes through this assembly. So what I'm doing right now is pressing that shift arm back into the rod. So what you've got to do is take a screwdriver and push this bushing back and hold it against the spring. So it's a spring-loaded bushing that actually holds that shift arm in place, and it holds it right where it's sheared. So you've got to hold that back with a screwdriver and make sure that that shift arm pops in all the way. And once you've got it set, it holds in there really well. So then you're going to have to fight with that little Y pattern plate. So the plate that actually is guiding the shift forks as they travel through their pattern. So that's just a little plate that's kind of free floating in here, and one side's kind of got like a squared off flat plate, and the other side's got a rounded flat plate end. And there's little cutouts in the casting where that sits, and it's obvious when you're looking at it where it goes, but it's just a little bit of a struggle getting it into place. And the last thing that's tough is just making sure that those shift forks are both in neutral, so that when you push them in and out, like I'm doing right there, when you're pushing that rod in and out, that you're actually switching between those two shift forks like you would shifting, through that neutral position from first, second on one side to third reverse on the other side.
Well, you gotta put that together so you can see if that was our problem starting. Out there in the region on the sun again.
So this is the only part of this job where it helps to have an extra set of hands. And what we're doing is just replacing that return spring for the differential lock pedal. And it just really, you need someone with a prybar and one hand to get that spring, like that spring tab, the part that actually holds the tension, to put in place behind this little piece of casting, while the other guy pushes the actual assembly back in place. So after reassembly, as you can tell, the clutch needs at a minimum an adjustment. So we're going to try to do that now. And normally you can just adjust this turnbuckle assembly here. So take that jam nut loose and spin that rod. There's a jam nut on each side normally. But this one was completely frozen up and it had been broken and re-welded. So we wound up having to kind of take this whole sub-assembly apart in order to make any adjustment at all. But after you adjust that turnbuckle, you can also adjust this little stop bolt, and that'll kind of adjust the maximum travel of that pedal. So fortunately, we were able to get enough clutch pedal adjustment to get this tractor going again, but I would imagine after too much longer, this customer is going to be needing a clutch replacement. After a little test drive, this job is completely done, and on to the next one. So, appreciate you watching. Hopefully this helped you out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.